Hi, everyone. Good morning. This is quite a bit early to me, but I'm really super excited about this stream, especially with our guest, Laurel Papworth. So if you're not familiar with who Laurel is a very accomplished social media expert. She was one of the top 50 social media influencers globally listed by Forbes magazine, and she's also been named as head of the industry social media by Marketing Magazine, author of Social Media Revenue. Laurel has consulted globally, including with Singapore government, Middle East broadcasting, and in Australia and with UNHCR. So quite a few credentials. I'll leave a link to Laurel's website, and you should check out her blog and her website. Laurel, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. It's a little bit late for me. It's 10 o'clock here, and I'm one of those people that goes to bed early. But I'm staying up for the party with you guys.
Excellent. Thank you, Laurel. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you are a big streamer yourself. So I would encourage, folks to check Laurel, some of the streams, what she has to say, and check out her website as well. So it's very, very informative, to say the least, and you will learn a lot from what Laurel has to share. So we have Jenny waking up. I did it 5 a.m. in the morning. That's what Jenny is saying. So 1 second here. Do you see the comments on the screen, Laurel?
I'm just on our screen.
On our screen.
There,
yeah,
Jenny.
Yeah. Yes.
You did it, Jenny. Either that, or he's scheduled something to come in at 5 a.m. Yes. And he's still in bed asleep.
Yes, Alberto is here as well. Hey, Alberto, good morning. I'm not sure, Alberto, where you're joining from, but I'm pretty sure it's early. Okay. So Wilson is here. I was about to go to sleep. So Wilson is based in Vancouver, I believe. So that's probably, yeah. Wow, that's early morning, 5 a.m. So, well, Wilson, I don't think you can sleep today. You'll have to stay here for the stream. So, Laurel, social media tools, there is a lot of buzz around it. I mean, who better to talk to than yourself? I mean, you've done so much work over the years on social media with a lot of important political personalities, governments. What's your and managed communities, right? What's your take on a community like ours? I mean, how important that is to what we are doing in terms of lifetime deals, tools and stuff like that. Can you talk a little bit?
Yeah. I think when it comes to social media tools, if there's anything that I've learned, and that is they're all a bit rubbish. There's never one that's perfect. And that's not just lifetime deals. That goes for the $40,000 a month, Salesforce, Marketing Cloud type of products as well, that the large corporates and governments and stuff that I work with. And people always say, what's your favorite? And I'm like, well, I'll just talk about the one that I think sucks the least. We'll find a solution for the client. And then because of that, I realized that different clients needed different solutions, because there's so many aspects. You can't just say, I need a social media dashboard. You have to decide, do you want scheduling? And if you want scheduling, do you say scheduling or scheduling?
Scheduling. Yeah, both works.
Either, both? Okay.
Yes.
So scheduling. And then if you want scheduling, do you want the artificial intelligence side, which is where the platform decides the best time for that post to go out? And they're all a bit rubbish. I think they'll get there, but over the years, I've just discovered that there's too many generalities. Like when people say, oh, you should send out an email newsletter at 11 a.m. on Thursdays, it's the best time. And that's a general thing.
Yes.
But if you're trying to target medical staff, nurses and doctors that work night shift, 11 a.m. on a Thursday is rubbish for them because you're not taking into account that they finish work at 8 a.m. So they're not going to be reading your newsletter at 11 a.m. So, I'm like, you got to be a bit smart with the way that you use these tools. And it's the same with content creation tools and different things. So because everything's been rubbish, one of the things that happened to me was I discovered lifetime deals,
Yes.
and then that led me to an obsession of collecting everything that I could. And I collected it not only for today, but for the future. I don't sell them. I'm an absolute hoarder. I'm a digital hoarder. I've got a fairly clean and tidy office and desk, but online I've just got this big mess. Actually, can I show you some things that I've figured out? Is that possible? Can
Yes,
I put it up on the screen?
absolutely.
Okay, so we'll go to my screen.
Okay, 1 second here. I am going to add your screen. Let me make this a little bit bigger.
You don't need to see me. That's fine. You know what I look like. We've established what I look like. So
no, you can
good.
You can stay.
Oh, I'm in the bottom left. That's good. I thought I put myself down there. I use a Stream Deck connected to. I actually have a Blackmagic A10 Mini Pro ISO, which is like a vision switcher.
Yes.
And then I use the Stream Deck to move backwards and forwards. But look, when I'm talking to like corporate clients,
yes,
I go through that every platform has a certification for using the API.
Yes.
And that the social media tools are third-party companies. And these are the ones that, for instance, Facebook and Instagram have approved to use the API. Because they're a part of the partner directory, it means you don't wake up one morning if you're using one of these tools and discover everything's fallen over because Facebook changed the API and only told their partners that they were doing so. So if you're using a third-party partner, a social media tool that's not on the approval list, you can run into trouble. So I don't want to spend too much time on this because most of these are outside of the budget and really not of interest to a lifetime deal sort of cohort, because these are for the people that put the money into like Salesforce type things, I guess. So, but when I'm looking through here, what I'm doing is I'm trying to get an idea about how Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn work with their partners, because when I'm looking for tools, I want to find tools that are similar to the ones they recommend here.
Yeah.
But cheaper. Like,
yes.
I want cheaper. I don't want to spend thousands of dollars a month. Thank you. Yeah. So if I look at something like selling on Facebook, I can go through, I can see, for instance, that Automatic, who make WordPress and WooCommerce, are approved by Facebook as a Facebook partner, okay? And then there's BigCommerce, and you may know some of these, but you're not going to get a lifetime deal on many of these. I think these guys had one years ago, but I don't think they do anymore. And there's not a lot, there's a small handful that make it through to the verification process. So
yes,
I have to be familiar with these because my clients are using these, like governments are. So Hootsuite's in here, but even Hootsuite, if I take, I think it's campaign management and looking at Hootsuite, I hope I'm not being too, like obscure here, but we'll move on in a second. We'll get to some tools that are available on the LTD market. I can go into each country and see what's happening. I don't know why that's not showing up, but you can go in, you can put a tool in and see whether it's approved by Facebook and Instagram to be used. So, if you've got a client who's got a budget, you can go in here and find stuff for them. That sort of led me to going to AppSumo, and I, started to purchase the products on AppSumo, and I started, I think it was in 2015.
Yes.
I don't just use AppSumo. I use quite a few. So, it would have been 2015. And so I grabbed everything that I had in AppSumo and I put it into a spreadsheet because I don't know if I have this thing when I'm trying to explain return on investment.
Oh, what happened?
That.
Yes.
There I am.
Yes.
When I'm trying to explain return on investment, I sort of, there's this thing that if I buy an expensive pair of shoes, then I want to figure out my cost per wear.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a geek. I like numbers, okay? But I'm happy to spend $200 on a pair of shoes, which is exorbitant. But as long as I love them and I wear them and they make me happy, it's so much better than buying a bunch of $10, $20 shoes off of Amazon that I wear once or twice and they're uncomfortable and they're not fashionable and I throw them away. At least if I buy one good pair of shoes, they'll last me. LTD is a bit of a funny place because most of the stuff I'm buying, I'm investing in for the future. I know I buy for today.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't get upset if it doesn't work. I buy for today, but I'm hoping that it's going to be, in the future, something that I will get a cost per wear. So I need to have tools that I'm actually going to use. So let me go back to this screen again.
Yes, of course.
I'll get out of the way. We don't need me. So I took everything out of AppSumo and I put it in a spreadsheet. And I realized I'd bought, how many products? 107 products.
Let me just get you on a bigger screen 1 second here.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, there we go. Yes.
Oh, goody. There we go. So, I've put a column in and I've, put in Radar as social media, and whether it's CRM and email or whether it's like Switchboard Live, it's a multi-stream, multi-broadcast, Happy Scribe, closed captions. So I started to fill this spreadsheet in, and then I got down to about number 65, and this is so embarrassing, but I thought, what's Track My Subs? I bought it and never used it, which is so naughty. Don't do that, people. Really, if you're going to buy it, use it or sell it. Don't just let it sit there. So I went and had a look at Track My Subs. And what Track My Subs does, and I haven't got them all in here yet, is, let me just go into brand mentions. You put in the product that you've purchased, and then how much you paid for it, and then you can say whether it's lifetime or a subscription. And obviously we're doing lifetime mostly. And then I put in the date that I purchased it. I can also put in up here how much it would be monthly if I'd bought the monthly value. Does that make sense? Like if I bought the subscription.
Yes.
Yep. And then I put it in a folder. I bought it directly from them. I didn't get it from AppSumo, or I got it from a different deal site, not AppSumo. And then I keep my social media ones in a separate folder, and I keep the ones that I use every day for my business. These are the ones that my cost per wear. These are my expensive shoes that I actually use are in this folder.
Oh, cool.
And then I tag it with the year that I bought it and a few other things as well. And what's really nice about Track My Subs, I'm so glad I got the lifetime deal on this, is when I go into reports and I go into lifetime deals, I can actually see how much money I've saved since I bought it, because I've put in how much the monthly should be, and then I put in how much I paid for it. Does that make sense? Like,
yes, it does make sense.
If I go into my folders, and I've got one here called, I'll just turn all those off. I've got one here called using, because they're my business ones that I actually use. I've saved $7,200 by spending $276 on lifetime deals.
Yes.
And I've done this for all the social media tools. I put the social media tools in a folder, and I spent $1,200 on social media tools. They're all like $30 each. But if I'd actually been paying for these, it would have cost me $16,500. And I want to be clear here, this is my job. So
Yes.
my job is to know these tools
Yes.
and to sit down with a client and say, look, we can use eClincher, we can use Influencer, we can use blah, blah, we can use blah, blah, and try and put some kind of portfolio together. But if I had to pay, monthly for all of them so that I stayed up to date, no, I think I'd have to change jobs. Like $16,500 for tools that I'm not really using. And these are only 20 of them. I've got a lot more tools than that, if that makes sense. So,
Yes.
I realized early on that I needed to get lifetime deals, and even if I'm going, and I do pay, if some of them in my social media folder are actually subscriptions. So let's actually start on the tools themselves.
What do you think about eClincher, Laurel? I think you mentioned that.
Yeah, I bought that in 2017 and I used it, I think twice for clients, and I haven't used it since.
Yeah.
So let me just check my notes on it, because luckily there's a note field here. No, I haven't I haven't made any notes, but sometimes I do put notes in, and I haven't filled in how much it is monthly either. But there's one of them that does pods. Is that eClincher? I don't know if you've come across pods.
I've been trying to get eClincher, but I haven't been successful yet. So.
Oh, okay.
But it is supposed to be a good tool. It is supposed to be a tool which has really...
I think they're all I don't remember this one as being developed that much, and I bought it in 2017, 4 years ago. So, I do try to open up the emails when they come through. I'm not using it currently, but I open up the emails, I see what else is being added in and things like that. So, I try to stay up to date on those sort of things. The unified inbox is always important to me, and quite a lot. You start to notice certain things across tools, and I'm sure everybody in the group has. Who was it that was talking about they bought like 5 or 6 video products today? They were talking about how many video products they had. Was it Joe? I think Joe said,
yes,
I've got all these video products.
Yes.
When you've got a lot of them, you start to notice the sameness. Everything's the same. Yeah. And then you notice the things that are missing. So, for instance, a unified inbox for me is critical. I need to be able to go into, I'm not going to do it right now in case there's stuff in there, but no, there's not, actually, it says 0. But I want a unified inbox so that all my DMs are coming in, or the client can see all the questions and anything that's directed to them. It's a little bit like Restream, where Restream has a unified inbox for YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter Live, What else did yes, okay. No, thanks, not going to save that. So, I bought Juicier. That's dead. Do you remember Juicier?
Okay. I haven't used that one, no. Revealbot is good.
It was good for a while because it allowed you to follow on Twitter, and it's like the app Twollow on your iPad or iPhone,
yes,
where you can quickly follow and unfollow people. And then they got rid of a lot of it. Some of these, I don't use ManyChat anymore because Facebook's now building in or has built out their intelligent chat services. So things come and go. I don't necessarily see it as being a waste of money. It was worth the money at the time to keep me going, if that makes sense.
Yes.
What else do we have here? We have Grum and Postable and Q. I'm just trying to think what would be of interest.
What about some of the newer tools
to the group? What would
something like Okoya or something? Have you looked at any of those with AI-based social media tools?
I've got a Koya, but I only bought it yesterday or the day before. I bought it on Dealify just before it finished.
Yes. Yes.
And I got Sociamonials as well, which I'd been umming and ahhing about.
Okay.
Which one are you interested in? A Koya, I guess.
Yes. So I have a question for you, Laurel, from a business perspective, right? I mean, there's like so many online social media communities and streaming and stuff. From a live streaming perspective, right? What is your preferred platform? Should you stream on Facebook, YouTube? Should you stream on your site? What your advice be?
I stream on simultaneously, so I multicast.
Yes.
I've had a terrible time with Restream.
Yes.
I bought the lifetime deal.
Yeah.
I got my money back on it.
Yeah.
And then I bought the Pro, and then I had a terrible time with it. But I also own Switchboard Live, and I own OneStream.
Yes.
The thing with Restream is it had the unified inbox so
Yes.
that I could see the comments, because there's no point going live if you can't say hi to people, you know?
Yes.
Hi.
Yes.
And so I stream to LinkedIn. I go to my personal profile on LinkedIn. I stream to Twitter. Periscope has been sunsetted, and Twitter Live has now moved in, so the APIs have moved around a little bit. And then my Facebook page, and I do use a tool called Live Leap,
Yeah.
which I'm not even sure is around anymore, but years ago I bought it as a lifetime deal, and I stream to my page, and then it picks it up and pushes it out to groups, so I can choose which groups I want it to go to.
Yes.
It's not a multicast like Restream where you give it to Restream and Restream simultaneously does YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. With Live Leap, you stream to your Facebook page and then, or wherever, and then it picks it up and sort of bounces it into groups from there. It's kind of a bit of an odd one. But I like it. It was worthwhile buying that one. I've used it numerous times. That cost per wear again.
Yeah.
When I'm dropping Restream, I think I'm going to move. I quite like Switchboard Live, and I quite like OneStream, so I'll move between those two a little bit. I didn't get Be Live. I don't remember why I didn't, but I didn't. But I always have backups. I work with politicians. I've got quite a lot of ministers and senators that I work with, and
Yes.
we need to, if a tool is not working, then we need to be able to quickly come out of that and go to the next one. So
Yes.
I set everything. We call them town halls,
Yes.
online town halls, but we set up backups of backups, you know. So for me, they've always been a good investment to have multiple different ones. And if one of them has, you know, upset Twitter on the day and the API isn't working for them, then maybe the other one will work or something like that. So that's my theory.
Yes.
That's my excuse for hoarding them all.
It makes sense. I mean, you know, you share a lot of common traits with a lot of folks in the community here. I think we have, especially when it comes to tool hoarding, there is like every one of them has been collecting these tools, and a lot of them are not actually using them. But, you know, that's something we share in common. So,
Well, I think also we're investors.
Yes.
So I don't look at something and then get upset because it's not working today exactly how I want it to. You know, there's a few products that I'm going to hold on to, even though they're not working for me right now. I can't implement them right now because my instinct is we're gamblers. We're gambling. We're going to gamble not at the races or at the casino. We're gambling on software.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of these turn into top products. And I've been pretty lucky. I've had a fairly unerring instinct for picking things up that ended up becoming industry standards across, you know, even before lifetime deals, I was sort of aware that Hootsuite and Sprout Social were going to go places, and spent quite a lot of time understanding those and creating courses around them. So you just have to go with your instincts. You're not always right, but sometimes you are.
Yes. Alberto is saying, I catch them like kids and Pokemon cards. So
yeah, you gotta, and it almost became a point, and I think it still is, where I'll be talking to other social media managers and they'll say, have you used Promo Republic? Yeah, got that. Have you used this? Yeah, got that. Yeah, got that. Yep, use that. Oh no, I got rid of that one. And it's I would always rather have a range of things. And I'm quite serious. I read every single email. I collect the RSS feeds. So for instance, some of the products that I like, unfortunately I haven't seen on, I'll just switch across again. So these are some of the tools that I think are underrated. Go to this one.
by the way, guys, if anybody who's watching and would like to join, you're welcome to join as well. 1 second. Yes, here.
So this is an RSS reader.
Yes.
Called Feedly. It has a free. I tend to like to show small business services that are free. If I can't get them a lifetime deal, I want to show them something that's free or $5 a month. I don't want to show them stuff that's hundreds of dollars a month. But I can pull in lots and lots of feeds and use this. So as an example, co just means company. I have here developing. I bring in the RSS feeds of the Facebook newsroom, developer news. I'm a developer with Facebook, and non-profits. So every initiative they have and every page they have. Why did it do that? Go away. Just meant that I, wanted to make sure that I could bring everything in, and then I can just click and I can read all the news of everything that Facebook's bringing out at the moment. When I use Fetch RSS, this is awesome because it's actually a feed burner, for instance, for Facebook pages. And I don't know if you know, but a Facebook page doesn't have an RSS feed. So if you've got competitors or vendors, or I don't know, maybe the AppSumo Facebook page or something, you can put it in here and it will give you an RSS feed, which you can then copy and paste into your this is a monitoring dashboard.
Yeah.
And then I can keep an eye on everything. So I can put clients in here, I can put clients' competitors in here and different things. If I see something that I think is interesting, I'll pick it up, a note from Mark Zuckerberg. And then because I have Buffer app, which is like Hootsuite or some of the scheduling apps, I can click here and push it out or schedule it to go out on Twitter or Facebook, add it to the queue, share next, which means it puts it in another queue, schedule it for later or for tomorrow. And so I can use this to continually find content that's relevant for my audience. So imagine, for instance, if you had all the deals sites in here and you would be seeing lifetime deals as they come in.
Yes.
I don't know. What do you use? What are you using to keep an eye on everything? All the deals? Because I noticed you guys put up a lot of the deals when they're announced.
Yeah. So personally, I don't keep a track of every single deal. I'll be very honest.
Why not? Why not? Shame on you. That's your homework for today, young man.
Yes. That's. I have thought about it. I mean, we had folks who have scraped websites, and and we have folks who track these sites so to see if there are any changes and if any new pages being listed, and then they would just come and post it. Um, but it is all like mostly community driven, right? Like
People.
there are
There's 50,000 of these lifetime deals, and then someone will say, "What does someone think of this one?" And then the conversation happens, rather than just listing all 50,000 lifetime deals.
yes. Marsha is here. Hi, Marsha. How are you doing? She's saying, "This is amazing. Thank you." Thanks, Marsha. Thanks for
You're
tuning
welcome.
in. And she's saying, "I have gone over 100 on my LTD." Yes, keep going. At the rate at which all these lifetime deals are coming out, I see. I mean, 3 years ago, like maybe 2 years ago, like I would have to think what's gonna come next, because like you would have like two deals on AppSumo, you buy them, and then you're out. Everything else is a freebie. Not anymore, right? Like you have marketplace and you have everything. You just don't have enough time to look at a deal because there's like thousands of them. Like literally, there are like over 2,000. So you can't do that anymore. And that's why we have a community to see what's good, what's out there, right? But yes, I mean, what do you think about so many lifetime? Is that something which is sustainable? And would you continue buying at this rate, because there is like a growing trend that
Yeah,
everybody
no,
wants
I've
to?
had, you know, I remember when there weren't any scheduling tools, or there was only one or two, and there was, hardly any analytics tools, and
Yes,
all the analytics are available. You can download the spreadsheets and get heaps more analytics than most analytics tools anyway, because they're built into the platforms. I am interested in certain things. So, for instance, there's about 80,000 data sets in the Facebook algorithm, and I'm starting to see a kind of an intelligent approach to that now, rather than just slap things up and schedule them and hope for the best. So, as an example, one of the data sets is that the Facebook, Instagram have discovered that some people are what they call visual story types, and some people are text story types. And so the way that we use that is that, and the visual story type split into photos and videos. It's not necessarily true that people who like photos like videos, and vice versa. My instinct with the group is
yes,
that we're primarily a text story type, because we're the engineer psychographic. And the engineer psychographic, the algorithm calls it a preferred audience. It sort of assesses behaviors and how people consume information. But the engineer psychographic is people who like dot points. They don't necessarily like colorful infographics, that's a bit childlike, like just give me the dot points,
yes,
and don't give me a 35-minute video. This kind of
yes,
thing's okay.
yes,
But a 35-minute video on how to do something, I just want to scan some text. So we tend to be text story types. And so what the algorithm does is it gives us more of that.
yeah,
And then your friends who like pretty pictures or lots of funny videos of panda bears falling over, they get lots more of that. Like it's now about 82% of the population are visual. So if you've got a mums and kids sort of psychographic, or it's only when you shift to the text story types, which are IT managers, developers, those kind of people, accountants, lawyers,
yes,
that you have to, you'll notice that those people get more text in their feed. So if you put up a picture with just a few words, it doesn't get into the feed. And I actually, because of the kind of clients I work with, I have a photographer client who, if he writes too much,
Yeah.
it gets zero engagement because the algorithm just doesn't show it to anyone because it knows that the people on that page are visual story types and they're not going to be interested in reading War and Peace. They want to see pretty pictures, and vice versa. Don't put up a picture and a couple of words if you're trying to reach people who ignore pictures and just look for the text on things, I guess is what I'm saying. And so I'm starting to see some of the tools use that more intelligently. In fact, I think I saw on was it Vbout? Jenny will be happy about this.
Yes.
They have another word for psychographics is customer avatars, or it's not demographics. Demographics are too general. It's got to be really specific. And so I'm excited to see where those tools go. I'm a bit bored by scheduling tools. The Promo Republics and the eClenches and the Hootsuites of the world all look really similar. There is one that starts with S, which I can't remember, but I'll put in the comments later, that does pod. No. It had a name and it changed its name. It's not Sow's Flare. No, I'll find it and I'll put it in the thingy. But it does pods.
Yes.
Now, I don't do pods. If you're not familiar with pods, and you would have seen this behavior, it's where people put up something like, "Hi, I've got a new Instagram account. Can everybody come and like my Instagram account?" And then they go around and they all like each other's Instagram.
Yes.
And you were talking about it, or someone was talking about it this morning, about how the travel bloggers are all, it's part of SEO. It's building webs. It's building connections. So
yes, we were talking about it last night.
Yeah, with travel, wasn't it?
Yes,
I think it was travel.
Yes.
Just like with SEO, though, there is a backlash, because if it's not the same preferred audience and it doesn't make sense, then you know how Google assesses the SMO, the social media optimization, and it looks for the signals between. So if you have a travel blogger who likes a mum blogger who's also connected to a porn site, who's also connected to a pharmaceutical site, it doesn't make sense. So you get degraded. It's the same thing with the algorithm. And in fact, one of the worst things that you can do is join a pod where the people are not your target audience.
Yes.
And I'll give you an example. I know somebody who's a hairdressing salon in Sydney who bought 10,000 followers, kind of like buying a pod, I guess, from South America. And now their psychographic has shifted from being people in Sydney to people in South America, which is not useful when you're a hairdressing salon. It's like, come to Sydney and get a haircut from South America. You want Sydney people on your channel. And if you join the wrong pods, if you buy followers, if you do the wrong thing, then you actually damage that algorithm in the same way that black hat SEO does, I guess, as well.
Yes.
There's also an author ranking, just like there is an SEO,
Yes. We had somebody who was telling me that there was a community, or like a Facebook group, and somebody added like 7,000 users, just added them, right? But the conversation is dead. I mean, those users are not going to have a conversation with any, there is nothing from, those are all users which are probably like fake profiles. And I'm not sure how much it could adversely affect your Facebook algorithm in terms of, how Facebook suggests, hey, maybe this group is of interest to you, blah, blah, blah. Probably it's going to adversely affect your Facebook community because...
Oh, absolutely. Yep. I don't know if you're familiar with lookalike audiences.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Okay. So algorithms have multiple audiences, and there's something called a saved audience, which is where you manually go in and create an audience. And you might say, I want to target women 28 to 35 who like organic food and yoga and Pilates, and then you list some brands of makeup and stuff that they like, and then the algorithm can go and find them.
Yes.
If you muddy the waters with guys that like football and grandmothers that like knitting, the algorithm can't create what it does naturally. You used to be able to create this manually. You can't anymore. It does it naturally. It does it over 28 days, and it's called the preferred audience. And it looks and it says, well, I've got grandmothers and I've got guys that like footy and I've got mums with kids. I don't know who the audience is.
Yeah.
And then the trustiness drops. And if you look at a page that's got a hyper-targeted audience like Red Bull's amazing, like one of the best in field.
Have you
Guys
worked with
who
Red
like
Bull?
extreme sports. Yeah, I have actually, on campaigns for films. I do a lot of international films and major releases.
Right.
But we had an extreme sports film on surfing, and we work with Red Bull on that, and they know exactly who the audience is. It's guys who like jumping out of things, like jumping out of planes, jumping off skateboards, jumping, just guys, extreme sports.
Yeah.
And there's a small percentage of women in that group, but it's not many. But they have and once you've got the hyper targeted audience,
yes,
which is called the preferred audience, then the algorithms, all the platforms do this. They say, would you like me to find the lookalike audience? And the lookalike audience is where they profile it, and then they go and find strangers, not FOAF, not friend of a friend, but they find strangers that meet the same data sets, the same criteria. Does that make sense?
It makes absolute sense, yes.
And
yes.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What was your question there?
No, I don't. It may come back to me. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we can take a few comments. Laurel, Lyle is saying regarding the RSS feeds you shared, I have never used RSS feeds before. Really interested in learning more about this. Is it a way to get insight into what are hot topics? I have Social Animal and a few other tools for research. I assume they use RSS feeds, right? That's his question.
Some of them use RSS feeds, yeah. Some of them use APIs.
Yes.
But, one of the things that I like to do, for instance, is put a hashtag in and then track the hashtag. And that's using the API. I don't care if it's the RSS or the API. Either way, it doesn't matter. As long as I get the information. But it is nice to be able to open up a dashboard and see, every single person in the accountant's financial services field is talking about XYZ, changes to tax laws or whatever. So even if it's not a field that I'm familiar, like it's not I don't have any expertise in anything other than social media. So whether I'm sitting down with hairdressers or financial services or whoever the client is, I have to immerse myself in their field. And so I really like the dashboards, and I do an audit before I meet with the client because I want to know what their competitors are talking about, what their vendors are talking about, what their clients are talking about. I want to know what the government in their sector is talking about, whether it's tourism or whether it's finance or whether it's sports, doesn't matter.
Yes.
So I use RSS feeds to do an audit and see what the hot topics are. It also is really useful for crisis comms. So if you do use Feedly, and Feedly works with Hootsuite and Buffer app and a bunch of others. Just trying to think of which other tools I have that have RSS feeds built in. I know NetVibes does. NetVibes, Feedly. I don't know.
Is Feedly a tool you bought on AppSumo, or wasn't on App Store.
No, I didn't get lifetime. The free one only gives you 20 feeds, so I have to pay $5 a month. I don't like spending monthly money. Just don't like it. But, some of the tools have RSS feeds built in. Actually, Lyle, if you like RSS, I will show you something that I think a lot of people don't realize they can do. Can I switch back across to the screen again?
Yes,
Right.
you can, for sure.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
You can share the screen, and then I will
Let me just go to my... Yep. Okay, there we go.
Oh. 1 second.
So I'm just looking for my... where are we? We've got here... Sorry.
Hey, Chris. Chris is saying, I went to sleep and Nilesh Mathur was live. I just woke up and Nilesh is live. Yes, actually, Laurel joined our stream last night in the conversation in the chat. And then we are here again live. So there we go. Jason is up. Hey, Jason. How are you doing? Jason is saying hi to you, Laurel.
Hi, Jason. So let me just set this up while talk about amongst yourselves a little bit. There we go. Okay, so if you go to your friends list, which is, you have to click on friends, and then you go to custom lists. You can create lists. So, for instance, I've got a few different ones here. Let me just check something. Add and remove. That's interesting. Actually, no, I'm going to leave that. I need to check into something. You can build out. I'll go to this one. So if I'm on my, what I like to do is create a Facebook page, which is my sandbox page, which is just for me to train people or just to muck around on. It's not like a true business page. It's just something to play with. And obviously, being a social media strategist, I need pages that I can go in and test things on before I inflict it on the client's page. Yeah. We've got, I manage TV shows. We get 16,000 comments during an ad break. I don't want to break that page, that's a big page. But if I go to my news feed, so what it is, it's facebook.com/ and then your page / news_feed, I can get a private news feed that's something like RSS, because I've gone in, for instance, to Social Media Today, but I've liked the page as my page. Can you see that like as your page?
Yes.
And that creates something like an RSS feed for your RSS reader for your business page.
Okay.
So this isn't a personal feed. This is a page for a business page. This is a feed for a business page. I feel like I'm not articulating this correctly. This isn't my mates mucking around and talking about what they did on the weekend. This is just business pages that I want to keep an eye on. Mine's all over the place because I'm teaching all the time and showing different things. But, I could go in here and just have my business page like, I don't know, AppSumo. They could like Dealify. They could like, what are some of the other sites that we like? SaaS
Mantra. SaaS Mantra is doing really well in terms of is bringing some decent deals. I am starting to really like SaaS Mantra actually for the quality.
What's a good one on there at the moment?
On SAS Mantra, I mean, there's a few. I got this mind mapping and like a Miro alternative tool called VG, or I'm not sure how we would pronounce that, but
Rejev?
no, like WEJE, like VG, or I'm not sure.
Okay.
But it's on SAS Mantra right now. It's like an alternative to the whole Miro mind mapping tools, and so it's an interesting one. There's a few good ones right now.
Any good social media ones for my hoarding collection?
Oh yes, let me see. Let me have a quick glance and see, or maybe someone can.
And
Oh,
do you think
actually,
anybody in the group, is there anybody in the group that can tell me what their favorite social media tools are? What do you use? Which ones have you bought but haven't got around to using?
yes. One
If
of
there's
my
anyone in the
favorite
group
tools
that can tell me
is
that.
Planable because it's so simple to use. Did you get it, Planable? It was on App Store. Planable.
Planopoly?
No, Planable.
Planable. I'm not sure about that one. I've got a few that start with plan.
Planable is pretty good. I really like Planable. I was using Avario, but then it was giving me some problems around monitoring some of the social, like especially around Facebook. So I stopped using it. I'm not sure if they've solved that problem, but there was a time when I really, really loved Avario. Have you used Avario?
Oh, okay. A Wario, yeah, I've got that.
Yeah. Do you use it?
I use them all, but I don't use them all the time.
Yes.
I don't. It, I need to shift around. I wouldn't ever recommend this to a client to do, but they don't need to. I'm the one that has to be able to walk in and go, yeah, I used that one yesterday, or I used that one last month, or I'm using that for a different client. So I have used a Wario, and I think with a Wario, what was my notes on that one? I have to keep notes on everything because they all start to look alike after a while.
Yes. Yes, they do. I really like Planable. Jenny's saying brand champ. Jason is saying, "What's in your social media hoarding collection, Laurel?" I'm a social B user.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I was showing when I showed track my subs. I've got Socialmonials, Promo Republic, Okoya, Social B, Social Insight, Radar. I do like to collect LinkedIn ones because there's not many. And LinkedIn themselves are a bit rubbish when it comes to, building out their platform. Twitter's not very good either. Definitely Facebook and Instagram are ahead of the game. But like Zero In is a LinkedIn email scraper. So if I'm communicating with someone, I can click a button, adds it to my adds that person and all the fields to my contact list. So I don't do cold. I don't. I'm a marketing person, but I'm a social media marketing person, which means I'm very much relationship based. I
Yes.
don't do a lot of cold stuff,
Yeah.
but I do find Zero In useful for that. Like just to, oh yeah, that's right. I've had conversations with them and I said I would follow up and I've got all those details in my Zero In dashboard because it's a plugin that's watching what I'm doing on LinkedIn. And then another one's called Inlytics because LinkedIn is rubbish at analytics. So I use Inlytics for the LinkedIn analytics. Do you want all my tools? Visal for
Maybe
social
some
media
like. Do you
analytics,
use
Viral
like
Stat?
do you use like a bio page or something, Laurel? Like for how do
No.
actually users find you? Like they just through search recommendations mostly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I I've always been interested in I'm not interested in SEO per se,
Yes.
but I am interested in algorithms. Always have been. And I read all the research papers and I read all the patents, and I've read, and I do a lot of work in that area. One area that was really important early on was authority ranking when it was publicly available. I don't know if you remember, but you used to be able to go in and see the authority ranking of the YouTube channel and the authority ranking of a website. And I realized it was building the foundation for an algorithmic generated influencer, what I call the influencer economy. And so when they took authority ranking and they put it in Knowledge Vault, I was actually looking at a number of things. So just as an example, I had a column in one of Rupert Murdoch's newspapers, and I made them link back to my website. And I also wrote for government and was quoted on government websites, and there's nothing quite as good as a .gov.au for me link back to my website, because now I've got traditional media and gov which are ranked higher, and they're building my authority ranking. And then I taught social media at the University of Sydney for about a decade. And so for a decade, I don't teach them anymore, but for a decade, the University of Sydney linked back to my website. So I then link back to them. So for instance, if Forbes links to me, then I link back to them. And, you know, I keep those kind of things happening, not for that really basic SEO of links in, links out. I'm not interested in that. I just want that authority ranking. I'm very greedy for authority ranking, just because I know that YMYL, your money, your life, which basically is trustiness. How much can we trust the person writing this?
Yes.
I want Google to go, oh, Laurel Papworth, sure, give it to everybody. We love her. She's very trusty when it comes to social media. And, you know, having stuff on university sites, having it on government sites, and having it in newspapers is worth that to me.
It establishes your credibility, and which, and you know, for sure, I mean, you have tremendous authority in this particular space. I mean, you don't need somebody more to vouch for it, but it does add up a level of confidence amongst the audience, right? I mean, to have those kind of, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I think our group are savvy, but I think the general public are not. So when they Google social media expert Australia, which is kind of what I'm expecting them to Google for me, you know, they call me and I say, how did you find me? And they say, I asked Google. And then I ask them what they search for, and sometimes they remember, sometimes they don't. But I don't expect them to know how the game's played. Like, they just know that they Googled and that's how they found me. I don't need the Google thing so much, because I've got a lot of followers, and not a lot of followers, of probably a few 100,000 across platforms, but I've high reach. And so I can reach 6 million people. And over Christmas, it's like 10 to 12 million people. It goes crazy in December, January. And a lot of that has to do with how the algorithm perceives me and picks my stuff up. So, you know, I'm like, why did I have the top tweet on that hashtag? Like, it wasn't worth it. But I guess what I'm saying is, we're savvy and we know how the game's played. But the general public out there don't know. Really, yes. I guess is what I'm saying.
That's my dog. Always gets excited when I'm live.
What's his name, or what's her name?
Her name is Safi. She can always come and say hello. Safi, come here. Say hello.
Come say hello. Who's a good girl? Who's a good girl? Come on.
Come say hello. Come here. No.
Come say hello to Auntie Laurel.
She's like, she's not sure. Maybe later.
Okay.
Marsha has.
I feel like we went off of the whole social media tools thing, but I didn't necessarily just want to list off lots and lots of tools. I just wanted to talk about what my approach is and give you all the excuses for why I hoard them.
Come up here. Come say hello. Oh, come on.
Laurel has more social media tools than Joe has video editing tools. Jason, I have a lot of video editing tools.
You see her?
I have Camtasia, I have ScreenFlow, I have QuickTime, I have OBS Project, I have Final Cut Pro, I have iMovie, I have Premiere, I have every tool on the planet. Oh, so cute. Oh, I really, really want a puppy.
Do you have you are you a dog person, cats?
I think I'm a dog person, but unfortunately I'm allergic to both dogs and cats.
Okay.
And I give them the biggest cuddles and then I have to go to bed sick for a day. And I never learn. I still give them the cuddles. Are there any other questions?
There are a few comments actually. Marsha's saying, learning to build my authority ranking in my industry. I wondered how to do that beyond posting in groups.
Yeah, it is a tricky one. Marsha, what's your niche? Can I ask? For instance, with YMYL, and Facebook has the same thing. They call it special interest or something. I'm sorry, it's getting pretty late. It's 11 o'clock and my brain's going to mush. But YMYL in Google is your money, your life.
Yeah.
And so anything to do with money, how to save money, spend money, get a cheap credit card or whatever. Google looks at extremely closely, and including if you have something like a niche about budgeting or saving money or even lifetime deals, and specifically the coupon community, which is a psychographic of 28 to 35-year-old women who use coupons. I'm not talking about our kind of coupons. I mean like tech coupons, more coupon clippers. We actually don't have them a lot here in Australia, but there's quite a lot overseas. But that taking coupons to the supermarket and things like that, anything along those lines is going to be looked at very closely by all the algorithms around trustiness. Jenny, you're silly. And that's your money. Your life is health. So if you're doing anything in the nutrition space, losing weight space, Facebook doesn't allow anything to do with losing weight. You actually have to say, get healthy for summer. You can't say lose weight for summer. They will disallow those ads and they'll reduce those posts in the feed, and you'll start to collect black marks that they're using a semantic AI that's looking at intent. So you have to be very careful with how you frame and phrase your content online. Unfortunately, a lot of things fit into YMYL, your money, your life. Like most people want to know how to be healthier, fitter, lose weight, and lots of people want to know how to save money. So it becomes a bit tricky. Interior design and architecture.
Yeah. And Caribbean and culture, diversity and inclusion, sub-niches.
So interesting. The culture, diversity and inclusion one can be tricky. I do pro bono or close to pro bono for all kinds of at-risk groups, and we actually have a huge problem online. So for instance, if I'm working with a homeless group, which I did recently, all of our stuff kept being disallowed on Google, on Facebook, everywhere, because they thought we were targeting an at-risk minority group. So you always have to come, and we had to go through and get special exemptions as a non-profit to make sure that the content got out there. Yes. As you can imagine, there's lots of groups out there that are targeting at-risk minority groups with credit cards that have an outrageous interest rate and things like that on them. So they're
Yes.
being disallowed now.
Yes.
But for diversity and inclusion, they look so closely at those. They don't want hate messages going out. There was a big rort where real estate agents were advertising to white Caucasian males who are Christian and then they listed all the private schools. Do you have private schools? What do you call them?
Yeah, private schools.
Public schools. Private schools? Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what they would be called. And it was to deliberately stop diverse groups from moving into neighborhoods. So they moved real estate into the YMYL area because, they were trying to get WASP, white Anglo-Saxon males into, and they were, specifically saying not gay, not Muslim, not this, not that, and they were not being very nice about diversity. So the platforms put a stop to that. So interior design and architecture, you're good with. The diversity thing, it will recognize you sooner or later as an authority, but you've got an uphill battle. It's in the same way that if you were to Google something to do with diets, they'll put Mayo Clinic or WebMD up before they'll put some blogger talking about their journey with paleo or something. I don't know. I have 4 brands on Facebook. Google wants to put me in a box, but they can't seem to do that. I think they're catching up to me, but any suggestions for multi-brand? Keep your channels separate. So Laurel Papworth focuses on corporate. So I have enterprise and government and large nonprofits and, so my stuff comes up to people who meet that criteria. But then I have something called the Community Crew, which provides content to little baby social media managers, not the big end of town, but people who are just starting out. And I make sure that I split my content up. The marketing manager of Coca-Cola is not going to be interested in how to get your first client as a social media manager. That goes in the Community Crew.
Yeah.
But if I'm how to do a budget for a multi-channel, omni-channel social media strategy, that goes into that channel. So I have my psychographics and I separate them and I know this channel's for them, this channel's for them. If you're ever stuck, have a look at how Facebook structures their Facebook pages. So Facebook has several hundred Facebook pages. They don't have one Facebook page and put everything on there. They have Facebook for nonprofits, Facebook for universities, Facebook for journalists. In fact, they've got a massive slew of content for journalists. They've got a whole they've got free online courses that you can do. Just tell them you're a journalist and you can sign up for them. They've got masses of tips. They've got a whole course on hashtags for journalists. But then they've got another course that's they've got a Facebook page for politicians. And then they've got country pages. So they've got Facebook for small business. So even Facebook knows that they have to have a separate psychographic on each of their channels. They can't stick them all on one page. When I first started working with Sony wanted to put everybody on one page or on one channel. Doesn't matter which channel, Twitter or Facebook or whatever. But when you look at Sony, they have kitchenware. So they have microwaves and things like that. And the primary purchaser is adult women and mums, things like that. They also have PlayStation games, Call of Duty, kick-ass games. which probably doesn't appeal to mums who are buying microwaves.
Yes.
And then they have data projectors and tech and geeky stuff, which appeal to IT managers or, the engineering type of psychographic, who may
Yes.
also play Call of Duty and who may be a woman. But if you have one channel and you put something up about a microwave,
Yeah.
and 1/3 of your audience engages, but 2/3 don't, and then the next post goes up and it's about Call of Duty franchise, one psychographic engages, but 2/3 don't. And then you put something up about data projectors for conference centers, IT manager stuff.
Yes.
What the algorithm starts to realize is it can't trust that this next piece of content is going to go up to the right audience. So you have to split out those three audiences into three channels: a gaming channel, a cooking and kitchen and recipe channel, and what was the other one? Oh, tech, cameras and data projectors and microphones and things like that sort of channel. And the same thing when I'm working with TV stations, because we have The Wiggles, which is a kids show. We have the news. We have reality TV shows. And initially the TV station wanted one channel, one Facebook page. But then we had to split it all out and have a Big Brother page and have a MasterChef page and have different pages for different things. So it's not so much about the content, it's about the audience, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Laurel, your blog is recognized as one of the top 10 blogs in Australia. You're one of the top 10 bloggers. How long did it take for you to get there? And how long have you been blogging?
Okay. So I'm showing my age here. In the mid 2000s, I started on Blogspot. WordPress wasn't available, and it was before Google bought Blogspot. And I started writing up my experiences of running online communities, because I used to run online games for Sony and people like organizations like that. I was a GM, and I was a forum admin, and it was before Facebook and all those things. So I was writing my stories about how to run online communities. And what was interesting with Blogspot is that Google refused to index blogs. Google said that blogs weren't real websites. They weren't business websites.
Yes.
And so they wouldn't index us. And so we created something called the blog roll. And what we would do is a little bit like what we were talking about with pods. I would go to blog meetups and I would get people's URLs and I would create a blog roll and I would link to them and they would link to me, and then we would reference each other in blog posts and things like that. And it was such good training, and I'm really grateful for the fact that Google wouldn't give us the time of day, because it meant, well, first of all, I made friends with some really lovely people who went on to do really amazing stuff. And then by the time Google decided that, well, maybe we will index blogs after all, we'd already had all these links in and links out, because it was the only way that we could throw our audiences around. So if somebody was reading my blog post, I would say at the end, if you found this interesting, you might like my friend Lee's post or my friend Cameron Riley's post, and I would throw them somewhere else, and then those guys would throw them back to me. And by the time we got indexed, that worked really well. And it was genuine. I wasn't randomly linking to some weird site because they were paying me. I was linking to people who were talking about the same things that I was talking about. One of the things, that now that Facebook does is it actually tracks the link. Even if you use Bitly or something, it tracks the link. And then it looks at the landing page and it does a semantic analysis of the landing page to work out what is the intent of the page. And if the intent of the page is to sell something, they diminish you in the newsfeed because they believe if you're selling stuff, you should be paying for ads. So I always link people into content funnels as opposed to promotions. So I never send them directly from Facebook to a page that says, buy now. I send them to the page which says the top 10 tips and let them read that and then follow links to other things and eventually get into the funnel that way. So I think that was a little bit off track. But yeah, that's how I started. And I didn't shift across to WordPress until 2008. And I think I'd already moved other clients onto WordPress and then I moved on to WordPress. But yeah, that's how I got started.
Very
and I
cool.
had a really interesting experience. I was in Singapore at a conference. Social media used to be called Web 2.0. I don't know if you remember that. And I was at a Web 2.0
Yes.
conference in Singapore, and the Asia Pacific head of Facebook was speaking there, and somebody said, who should we follow? Who writes interesting things? And he said, there's this woman in Australia called Laurel Papworth. And I was in the audience and he didn't know I was in the audience. So I thought that was really cool because it meant that Facebook themselves were reading what I was writing. So, and years later, I went on to run a workshop in California for Facebook, but that's a story for another day.
So, Laurel, you've taught at a few universities worldwide, and you taught at the University of Sydney, you taught at the University of Western Sydney, University of Adelaide, and you've taught at universities in Saudi Arabia and Singapore. Can you tell about your course? Like, how long is this course? What do you exactly teach? And you also have some courses which you have to offer. I would really like to learn myself about it a little bit. And who are those courses for? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. My world's interesting. One of the things I love about it is I get to walk in other people's shoes that I wouldn't normally expect to. So I ran a campaign for the Department of Health on social media to develop health awareness for instance, for sex workers. So I learned a lot about that industry that I wasn't expecting to learn. Don't tell mum, okay? Yeah. And then I was running, Big Brother here in Australia, and then I worked on the Singapore government had a dating app. They were trying to get Singaporeans to get married and have more babies because the population growth was less than 1, so they needed to get it higher. And so next thing I know, I'm working with the government trying to figure out how to get people to do dating and get married and have babies. They ended up cancelling it because people were using it like Tinder and they weren't getting married and having babies. So the government was very annoyed and actually told them off and cancelled the whole thing. We ran romantic cruises around Singapore Friday nights where people could come and have like speed dating type of things that the government running. And then I went to Saudi Arabia and worked at not with the university. I stayed at and lectured at the university, but it was actually on behalf of the princesses, the Royal House of Saud, so the royal family of Saudi Arabia, own a TV station called NBC4, Middle East Broadcasting 4. So I went to Jeddah because the princesses had got together to create a community for women of Islam called I Matter. And we had to keep them safe online. There was a whole range of things that were happening with that community. Yes. And it always makes me really interested because one minute I'm working with Department of Health and sex workers, and then I'm working with Big Brother, and then I'm working on government dating apps, and then I'm working with keeping women of Islam safe online. I didn't think my life was going to take this turn, like the different things that I've worked on. The courses that I run, I'll be honest, are primarily corporate. So,
Yes.
and
Yes.
this is falling out.
Yes.
So I don't know how useful
Would that be for
I,
our audience kind of thing? You mean? Yes.
yeah, kind of, like, do
Yes.
you need to know how to write a 400-page strategy for a whole of government approach to social media? Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I do recommend though is I try to keep my freely available live streams, which is on my Facebook page, Silk Charm, or my YouTube channel, Laurel Papworth. On Twitter, I'm Silk Charm, and LinkedIn, I'm Laurel Papworth. And what I do with them is I do a strategy,
Yes.
study, technical. So I do three. I do, this is why you should care, like strategically think about this. Then I do, here's some case studies or examples of this. And then I do, and here's some tools. Why don't you implement these tools? And you've got homework, go away and do this and come back and leave me some comments and tell me what you think. And I really think that that's probably the best way to get started with me. Eventually, people sometimes come in and they book a few hours mentoring with me, or they might join a mentoring program or something. But almost everybody in those are my what I call my alumni. So they've come through other channels and then said, I want to go to the next stage with you. I want to go to the next stage with you. So that's kind of, I always think that's a good way to start. Get used to me first, get used to my silly jokes, and then figure out if there's something that I'm offering that might be useful.
Yes. And, I mean, I haven't thought of running for office, any office yet. But if I do, I know who to get in touch with. Right?
Well, I probably need to tell you then that one of the prime ministers that I work with is currently in jail, but it has nothing to do with me. Everybody's like, didn't you used to have such and such on your list of testimonials? I'm like, yeah, he's in jail. Not here in Australia. It was a prime minister from overseas.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you're planning on doing anything naughty, no, don't call me.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Definitely not. Aditya Sharma is saying hello. Aditya is actually based in Sydney, I think. Hey, Aditya. One
Yay.
last question I have, Laurel. I know it's getting pretty late for you. Thanks for sticking around. I think we should end it. And you are part of the community, so I hope we can do this again. It is a lot of fun. My last question is communities, right? Like, I mean, like Facebook, yes, super massive engagement because everybody's getting there. But there, like, we also have a community on Circle. We wanted to open it up. We're just not sure yet. So, in your experience, you manage online communities. You are a social media expert. What's your take on, should we have a community just on Facebook just because of the ease of use, engagement, or have you seen?
I think you have to figure out your purpose.
Yes.
You have to sort out your purpose. If it's for marketing, I would stick with the platforms. I am a believer in the hub and spoke approach. I never want to, we're renting the real estate on Facebook. And so if they want to shut us down, they will.
Yes.
So I always use a hub approach where I'm always linking back to a primary source, which is off those platforms.
Yes.
So my hub is laurelpapworth.com, and then my spokes are my training courses or Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever. Once you've figured out your purpose, I think it's one of the areas that people fall down on is the electronic programming guide, the EPG. And I call it the EPG because if I call it a content calendar, everybody's like, I've got a content calendar. I slap up stuff all the time. And when they slap up the stuff, it's always buy now, buy now, buy now, or, like some pushy thing. By using an EPG, you can, if you want to take the community off Facebook, like you want to have a smaller ambassador type of program or something, I don't know what you would do with them, but anyway. So Mondays could be jobs or organizing your week tip of the week. Each Monday it's an EPG. So it says at 9:00 on Monday morning, you're going to get a tip of the week. Friday is when everybody's focusing on the weekend. Unless I'm working in Muslim communities, then Friday, Saturday is different. But whatever. The general idea is Friday's prefacing the weekend. So we might put up a joke of the week, but it has to be an in-joke. If I'm working with dentists, it's got to be a joke that dentists get, not just a silly dad joke. Although I love them, I'm not allowed to do them. So it has to be very specific. And it has to fit in the rhythm of the community. So if I'm working in an online community of terminally ill people, Mondays are very tough. They're usually facing tough medical things. But then they might be coming to the end of their treatment on Fridays. So we can relax a little bit more and have a doctor joke or a medical joke or something like that. You want to get to the point where people say, the evening news should have been on by now and it's not on. Like you're used to turning on drive time and it's going to be on. And if you turn it on and it's not on, it's one of two reasons. One is zombies have come and eaten the newsreader. Okay, or the second one is the cricket's on. Whenever the cricket's on in Australia, all the news and everything goes out the window. Nothing is more important than the cricket. But you want people to get so used to your EPG that they know like for instance, I don't know if you've got an EPG for your lives, but you could say Saturday Night Live is the guest and Monday Night Live is the founder interview, and Friday Live is the group, like you had today, the toing and froing last night for you, I guess, the toing and froing between a number of you. And Wednesday could be the deal of the week, but you schedule it. So you want to get to the point where people say, where is it? So for instance, for Tourism Australia, every Friday, they post up 10 photos taken by photographers, just any photographers around Australia. And they put together a photo album and it's called Fan Photo Friday. And it goes up at 10 a.m. And all the photographers are waiting with bated breath. Is my photo of the sunset or the beach going to make it this week? The one of the kangaroo or the one of the koala? Am I going to be in the album? And if Fan Photo Friday is 5 minutes late, oh boy, do you know about it? Like there's just 50 million comments. Where is it? Where is it? You want to get people kind of to that point. Does that make sense? Like it's not just posting things up regularly. It's really having an EPG. And if you do this with private groups, I have I'll actually put the sheet up if you like into the forum, but we have a content calendar, which is articles, tips, education, promotions calendar. So there's the gives and then the ask is the promotions calendar. The influencer calendar, that's your founders, the people that you interview about the products and services. There's the engagement calendar, which is just general, the member of the month is Laurel because she answered so many questions so nicely. And you're rewarding the members and you're reinforcing the behaviors that you want by rewarding them for the right behaviors. I don't reward them for saying thank you 50 million times. They may have responded the most, but it wasn't the most useful. I reward the behaviors that we want to continue. So there's, content, promotions, engagement or member, influencers. I think there's another one. I can't remember now. But we map all those out and we have them on a calendar so we can see them clearly. In fact, some of the best tools are Asana, Airtable, and Trello. And I saw the other day that Start Infinity has a lifetime deal, and that's perfect for that kind of EPG planning as well. So if you like Kanban boards to do that sort of planning, I think Start Infinity is a good option. There's probably others. I don't know what lifetime deals you guys have got, but yeah. Did that help? I don't think it did. Hang on. Ow. Sorry, can you hear me? No. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Got you. Yes. The battery ran out on my other one. We must have been talking a long time.
Yeah. No. It's all good. I think we're good. We just missed maybe like a few seconds, so that's it. I mean, for sure, so we've got a lot of good comments. I think one of the things for me, especially, like, I'm very new. I'm not a regular Facebook user, especially after COVID. I have been live a lot more and being very active. But before that, not so much, to be honest with you. So there is a lot for me personally to learn, a lot from you, and I'm sure the community finds it really valuable and useful. I sincerely, cannot thank you enough for sharing some of your expertise and being part of this community. And I hope we can do it again. We do like a Saturday session or a Friday session where we do, like, brews and LTDs, so we can grab a drink and talk. Well, hopefully it's not too early in the morning. I mean, having beer at 8 o'clock in the morning for me is not my thing, but we should schedule something, and then we'll have more folks.
What time was the one you had with the guys last night? Your time?
Yeah,
what time was that?
A late one. That was like around 11 p.m. That's definitely beer time. I can. If that's a champagne time for you. Yeah, because that's
middle of the day for me. So I could do 7, 8, 9, 10 your time, which would be middle of the day for me. That would be fine.
Oh, perfect. So
Maybe
we have ourselves we have ourselves a new speaker then in the community, so we can go live with you next time on with Jason, and Joe was there yesterday, and we have a lot of good folks. So I'm sure everyone appreciates all your insights here. Got a lot of good comments. Jason is saying, thank you, Laurel. This has been awesome live. Really appreciate you sharing your time and insight with us.
Thank you. I don't know how practical or useful any of it was, but it's just like my approach to things. So, okay, thank you.
It's very useful. Good. I'm honestly, like, like in terms of your thought process, what you shared, and I'm sure a lot of folks do find it useful. So that's, a lot of things I learned today, which I didn't know anything about. Let me be very honest. Yes. So, Miss Aditya saying, missed pretty much the whole thing. We'll need to catch up in the replay. Aditya, definitely you should. And lots of comments. Wow, love that. Was EPG. That was worth getting up at 5 a.m. Thanks, Laurel Papworth.
Thank you, Jenny Jones.
Yes, lots of valuable stuff, everyone. Okay, that's great. Thank you, guys. 8 a.m. beers in Australia is the norm. That's what Jason's saying.
Yeah.
Okay, with that.
Thank you, Marsha.
With that, Laurel, if you have any closing comments, I sincerely appreciate you being here today, and I hope you have the rest of the wonderful weekend. And yeah, any closing comments, if we can close it off.
No, thank you for having me. Hopefully people will keep sharing what they're using and what aspect, why they like it, whether it's for scheduling or the AI or content creation or, crisis comms management, that they talk about the tools and stuff. That would be useful for me if people would do that in the comments or whenever. Otherwise, yeah, thanks for having me. That's awesome.
Thank you very much, Laurel. Thank you. Take care. Bye. Let me roll some music.